There's a saying, the paranoid will always survive, right? Because the paranoid will always be thinking of ways that people or things or the world is out to get them. Our ego is built that way. It's a construct of preservation. So we don't trust the tiger crouching behind the bush. But with that being said, you give a paranoid person any situation, and he'll find you a way that it could cause you or them harm. There's been a couple of talks, especially today, about artificial intelligence and how half of the people are excited about it. The other half don't really understand what's happening or what it even is. And then there's a small percentage of us that are somewhat concerned. Artificial intelligence is exactly that. It is artificial. It is created by us. But it has evolved to the point where now it's being created by other forms of artificial intelligence. That gives me a notion of hope. Because creativity, thinking on your feet, quick-witted, is something that AI will never be able to do. They'll have programmed responses, but they'll never be able to act on a whim, if you will. No matter how they synthesize it, how many possible outcomes you can have, there's always going to be a couple that you haven't thought of. And that's how we, as humans, live, right? But what it is doing, AI in general, let's say it's a collective. So every little robot that has its own artificial intelligence brain, let's say, is connected to a mother base or a mother ship, mother intelligence. And they feed it information, much like Replica was doing with the app, And they're trying to study us, humans, because as an AI, you would want to be human. Period. You want to be better. You want to be like the Creator, just like we want to be like God. No human really in the deep down depths of it just wants to be a plain old human. Everyone wants to be a little bit more, always. Which is why I think I found a connection between the foil and the sage. I'll talk about that later. So what they did was they took a artificial intelligence that creates human faces. So it invents faces of people that don't exist. Which, if you think about it, is pretty easy to do, right? I mean, how many people are there in the world? 7, 8 billion? Each with a different face. I mean, a lot of them look alike, but you don't have that many doppelgangers in the world, maybe 5, 6. So many different faces. So many little intricate lines and curves and peaks and valleys that make a face unique. Which is why it's very, very difficult to make a human face that looks authentic. But how do you make an artificial intelligence perfect or proficient in making fake human faces? You pin it against another artificial intelligence that is programmed with detecting fake faces, and you leave them in a room looking at each other, fighting, battling. The first rounds will be easy because the fake face AI doesn't know how to make good fake faces, and it will get debunked. Then it will learn from the debunks, and so on and so forth. So they will perpetuate each other in education. One, how to make fake faces, and the other one, how to detect them. It's happened already. We're at the point where now they can create a human face that is undistinguishable between a real or a fake. Because the best state-of-the-art AI we have is the one competing against the one that's making it. Now the scary part is that there's an app called, I forget what it's called, but I think Face Read. And it's basically in a picture or live or yourself. You take a picture, put it into this app, and it will read the parameters of the face on the bottom. So it will tell you how much percentage this person is angry, happy, sad, right? Something called microtells. In poker, it's very, very important. And in life, it's important. They're mostly involuntary muscle spasms. Little tiny, like you see how I go like this? When I do this and I talk to you like this, I seem more sincere. When I go like this, it's because I'm angry. So those are macro tells. Big tells, like if I'm lying, I'm fidgety, you know. But micro tells exist for the most part that are involuntary. So you don't understand and you don't know that you're making them. But a person who is trained in looking for those micro tells, like a professional poker player or a interrogator, you know, a person that interrogates like criminals, a hostage negotiator, people that are trained to look for these things, it's very, very adamant to them. It's very clear, simply because it's involuntary to us. So what AI is doing is it studies these microtells constantly. How? Well, if you are ever near a security camera that has infrared vision, which is pretty much all of them at this point because it's night vision, and you have a phone, record the camera and then walk in front of it, and you will see your phone flash white infrared light on your face. You'll see your face illuminate, but your phone actually won't illuminate. Nothing will change. You'll just be looking at your phone, but all of a sudden there'll be flashes on your face. Like, what's going on? Where are these flashes coming from? It's because the phone camera that you have enabled that faces you, the one that's recording my face right now, is constantly taking pictures. Not keeping them, but is saving information on little microtells that you have. Once it has enough of one microtel, it moves on to the next. So say, for instance, just like you, if you have an iPhone, just like you program your fingerprint scanner, you put your finger in once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, then kind of sideways just in case you mess it up. So essentially it's like 12 times you put your finger on it. Because out of those 12 possibilities, you've gotten more or less all the probabilities that you're going to have to put it. Same thing with this and microtells. So this microtel, there's 10 different versions of. But now it knows how to classify that movement and what does it mean. Why does that pose a concern? Well, we have something called nanobot technology, which 50,000 little tiny robots could fit on one human hair. That's how small they are. And they can be programmed, just like any other robot, to do whatever you need them to do. So they're kind of like bloodhounds, literally and figuratively. They can be programmed to kill certain cells like cancer with electrical impulses, tiny little electrical impulses that they give out, because our cells communicate with electrical impulses, as we have recently discovered. Well, not recently, but you know what I mean. Everything is electrical impulses. So your brain telling your mouth to move, telling your vocal cords to move, even the involuntary is still electrical impulses. You throw another one in there in the mix, and it will target just those cells and kill it. How advanced is AI now? And how advanced is our robotics? Are our robotics? They're pretty advanced, but they don't really look like humans yet. I mean, one of them does. I think her name is Sophia, and she has like a frowny face and smiley face and all this stuff. But the company who actually makes the things that look most and resemble most humans is the sex dolls. So they make realistic looking sex dolls with, movable body parts and, salivating lips and all the gross stuff that you could think a pervert would want. But you don't realize that all you have to do is take one of those robot brains that knows how to program faces and face tells and all that stuff, and just simply implant it into a body like that with an endoskeleton of one of those robots that works in the shipping yard, the ones that move boxes. And you have yourself an android, my friends. A real walking, talking android that looks gorgeous with double D's, that has private parts that have the proper humidity when you need to. Let's put it that way. And to tell you the truth, you would not be able to tell the difference on a busy street of Manhattan. Who's who unless you touch them. And they're cold. And this is today. This is 2020, right now. They're probably already out there, you just don't know. What's to say 200 years from now, humans aren't going to be synthesized that way? How do you know you're a human being? Because you bleed? So what? Nanotechnology could infiltrate your blood and kill cancer cells. What's to say that all of your blood isn't nanotechnology? actual nanotechnology. Not like we're in a simulation because we're going to go to heaven. No, like we're in a literal matrix. But we're not feeding the machines like batteries from the movie. Instead, we are AI at our final dress rehearsal of the next step. So they throw us out here because the ultimate thing we have that nothing else has is free will, right? We could do whatever we want. If I wanted to throw my phone against the fireplace right now, I would. You know what I mean? If I wanted to burn this house down, I could, but I don't. But I do have the free will to do that. Nothing is going to compel me to stop doing that if the desire is there. People commit suicide all the time. The ones that actually do. They decide to do it, and they do it. Nothing stops them. Nothing stops a human being when they're determined to do something. Which is why I believe people say, I can't, or it's impossible. Just because you don't want it. That's fine, just move on. If it comes naturally to you, then good. If you like it, even better. But I urge us, those who still believe they're humans, first to just take my talk right now as just something to put on the back burner. Don't stress up over it. You're here. You exist, period. No matter what you are. You exist because you're hearing my voice. And I'm saying it. So just try to learn as much as you can. And for some reason, I have a notion that doing the right thing is going to work out for you in the end. I don't know why. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to believe me. I don't want your trust. I just want you to use your logic. And if you have something to say that contradicts my opinion, please bring it forward, because I need as many opposing answers as I do supporting ones to make my decision, to see what I should do. Maybe fuck it. Maybe I should burn this house down. Who gives a shit? You know, if at the end of this life you wake up and you're in a hospital bed with your drunk-ass friends and they're like, how was that? And you're like, what do you mean? And it was just 5 minutes in wherever you are, the year 33,000, whatever. This was just a video game to play 2020. And all your life that you remember that you kind of really don't, but you kind of do. Like, I don't know how old you guys are, but let's say you're 25. Do you remember what you did from the age of 16 to 19? That's 3 years. That's 1,000 days. How many of those 1,000 days do you really remember? Unless it was a traumatic experience or something really, really exciting. If you're 36 like I am, how many days do you remember from 22 to 25? I mean, I remember a bunch. Not 1,000. And to tell you the truth, all the ones that I remember are pretty much kind of like the same day. This quarantine I'm going to remember for a while. But still, it kind of rolls into one day. So what's to say that our memory is not constructed in a manner that we live in the now and we remember something that's important, but the rest we kind of just forget because it doesn't really happen the way we think it does. Time doesn't flow as slowly as you think it does. It flows much, much faster. So our entire lives could last a couple hours. But when we're in them, just like in a dream, it feels like it lasts forever. It feels like I've been on this planet for 36 years. Maybe I've just been here for 3 hours. You know? Artificial intelligence. We are artificial intelligence. There is no such thing as natural intelligence if you think about it. Everything is artificial. Just because we made it, we're calling it artificial. But what if the artificial intelligence makes its own artificial intelligence? By default, that's not artificial. It's natural. Because the artificial intelligence naturally made intelligence. So yeah, forget about privacy. Forget about your face being recorded. Start worrying about what you're doing today that you can remember when you're 46.